All right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the topics or things you're going to go through in the Lesson 8.1 IXL topics. Just some of the vocabulary about polynomials and then adding and subtracting. So the first thing you see here on the screen is we have this word monomial, which means one number or one part. And I've got a bunch of examples listed here. Just the number 3. If I had just the number 3, that would be a monomial because there's one number or one part. The same with 3x. This is still considered a monomial. It's still one thing because they can be combined with, or it can be the product of a number and one or more variables. So 3x is still considered a monomial. The same with 3/4 x. That is still a monomial because it's one part. It's kind of grouped together there as one. And the same with this 5x squared y cubed z. So all of those examples I've showed you are monomials. What breaks these things up into more than one parts is when we start to put addition and subtraction signs in there. Like this example here, 3 plus x. That addition sign really divides this into two parts. And if we were going to get specific with this, this would be called a binomial because there's two parts to it, the 3 and the x, because we have separated them with addition. So when it's multiplication, 3x, that's together as 1, it's a monomial. When I put the addition sign in the middle, like I did here, that's when it becomes, for this case, a binomial, two parts. Let's say I had something like x squared plus 3x plus 2. Again, this is divided up into different parts because of these addition. It doesn't just have to be addition, it could be subtraction also. I have one part, two parts, three parts. So this one would be called a trinomial because there's three parts. Anything more than 3, when we get up to 4 parts, 5 parts, 6 parts, they just call those polynomials because poly means many numbers or many parts. Okay, so we have monomial being one part, binomial being 2 parts, trinomial being 3 parts, and anything more than 3 we call polynomials. More than 3. Okay. Another thing they ask you about are some of the words that you will be hearing. How many terms? What's the degree? Leading coefficient. And we'll talk a little bit about what standard form means. So let's just make one of these up here. 3x plus 4 minus 6x squared. Well, talking about what we just talked about here, I had monomial, binomial, trinomial. How many parts do you see here? I see the 3x, I see the 4, and I see the negative 6x squared. So there are 3 parts to that, which means there are 3 terms. The degree is going to be the highest exponent that you see on a variable. So when I look at this term, I don't see an exponent. If we don't see an exponent on a variable, there's an imaginary 1 there. I have no variable here with the 4, so I don't have an exponent there to have a degree. And then when I look at my last term, this negative 6x squared, my exponent is a 2. So that's the highest exponent that I have on a variable. So the degree of this trinomial is 2. Leading coefficient is the number in front of the variable with the highest exponent. So on this, we've already determined that the negative 6x squared has the highest exponent. So the number in front of that is the negative 6. So that's the leading coefficient. Now you might hear them ask or see them ask questions, or they might tell you to write this trinomial in standard form, or write the polynomial in standard form. And that just means putting them in order, highest exponents first, and then the term with no variables last. That term with no variables, like we have right here, that 4 is called a constant because it has no variable with it. Constants will always come at the end. So if I were putting this problem in order, my negative 6x squared would come first because that's the highest exponent. The next highest exponent is my positive 3x from the front there. Positive 3x. And then I have left my constant at the end. So now you can see here how it's kind of in order. This is standard form. And we write things this way so everybody writes them the same way. Otherwise, everybody could have it rearranged in a different order and it would just be more confusing that way. So that's standard form. And that's how you should leave answers. Now to the adding and subtracting portion of this. It should be pretty simple. You've done this before. Something like 5x squared minus 3x plus 4 plus 6x minus 3x squared minus 3. All right, we are going to find the sum, or add these two trinomials together. And when we do this, we have to combine like terms. That means my variables have to be exactly the same. Like this 5x squared and negative 3x squared. 5 and negative 3 leave me with 2x squared. We do not change the exponents or the variables. We're just combining the numbers that are in front of them. Next, I'm going to look at negative 3x and positive 6x. That's going to leave me with a positive 3x. And the last thing to look at are my constants, 4 and negative 3. So that would be my answer. It's in standard form. My highest exponent comes first. Next one, constant at the end. If I asked you what is the degree of this, you would tell me the degree is 2 because that's the highest exponent on a variable. The leading coefficient is the number in front of that exponent, which in this one is also 2. And I have 3 terms there. Okay, you can see how I kind of did this problem in a specific order. I did the highest exponents first, the next highest, and the constant at the end. So if you do these in order as you work, you won't have to rearrange them and rewrite your answer. So if you go about it systematically, it'll make it a little bit easier for you. You'll save yourself a step of work at the end. All right, now so that was addition. Let's do a subtraction problem. Make a little bit of room here. All right, so like I said before, you guys have done these before. We did these in pre-algebra. And one of the big mistakes that people make when they do subtraction is they forget to use the subtraction sign for every single number or term in this second parenthesis. So if you remember what I told you about this, is anytime you see a subtraction problem, I've told you before it's a great idea to use the distributive property and change the sign on those numbers following the subtraction sign. My first parenthesis is going to stay the same. I'm just going to write that again. 4x cubed minus 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. And now, here's where we're going to start to change things. Negative times negative times negative is positive 2x squared. Negative times positive is negative x squared. And negative times negative is positive 2. Now, I've got all of my terms listed here. I don't have to worry about using that subtraction sign every single time because I just used it to change these 3 terms. So we're good now. We can just look at what I need to. I see I made a mistake here. This is supposed to be to the 3rd power. I messed up that exponent. All right, so combining like terms. And like I said, if you do this systematically, you're trying to think about how you want your answer to look. I know I want the highest exponents to come first. And when I look at this, I see that my highest exponents are 4x cubed and a positive 2x cubed. And if I put those together, I get 4 plus 2 is 6x cubed. Again, I don't change the variables or the exponents when I do this. Next, And make sure you use the sign that's in front of the number. Negative 3x squared and negative x squared. Remember, if there's no number in front of it, it's like there's an imaginary 1 there. So a negative 3 and a negative 1, negative 4x squared. 6x is next, but it has nothing else to go with it, so we're just going to leave it alone and say plus 6x. And then I have my constants at the end. I have the negative 4 and the positive 2, which leaves me with negative 2. So this is my answer. It's in standard form because I have highest exponent, next highest exponent, next highest exponent, constant at the end. There are 4 terms. The degree of this is 3 because of that highest exponent there. The leading coefficient is 6 because that's the number in front of it. There are 4 terms. This is called, if they asked you, a polynomial. So this should help you get through those 2 IXL assignments. If you see anything else on there that's giving you a hard time, go ahead and shoot me a message and I'll help you out.